Welcome to another Demarcation Media Dusted Off video. In the last episode, we talked about photography using Mega Construx. I kind of walked you guys through how I take my photos from the concept all the way to the finished product. And we're going to be revisiting photography a lot in the future, not only with Mega Construx, but with Lego and some action figures as well. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about Mega Construx again, but we're going to be talking about specifically the figures. I have here one of the Vikings from the Pro Builders Viking Longship raid. He has no modifications other than this Call of Duty neck scarf that I added on. And he looks good. He's a good figure. That helmet looks pretty cool. You know, he's cool. But the thing is when you get up real close to these guys in camera, they can look a little bit toyish because of the way the plastic shines. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be making this guy look more realistic. So our supplies right now, we have a little tube of black shoe polish. It is the kind of cream stuff, so it's going to almost be like toothpaste. We have a container of brown, some black paint, couple sponge brushes for applying some of this stuff, and then a rag for cleanup, and also some application. You can see I've already done this before with this same rag. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be taking this guy right here. You can see he's super clean and looks very brand new. And we are going to be making him look like this. This is a Viking that I have already done this method of weathering on. He's got the shoe polish, he's got the black paint, and then to finish him off, he got a matte top coat. So that's what we're gonna be doing. I just wanna say, I am actually filming with a new camera. I have not filmed using this camera yet. I'm still kind of learning it. So if anything looks weird while I'm filming, then that's why. It's because I really don't know what I'm doing with this camera. Our first step is going to be removing all of this guy's gear. So his shield, his helmet, his axe, his neck scarf, his head, and his vest. So we are left with just the body. For now, we're gonna shove all of that aside and we're just gonna work on the body. There we go, all shiny and clean. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our brown shoe polish, open it up. We're gonna squeeze a little bit onto our rag. We don't need much right now. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna start rubbing it on the figure. Actually, I need a little bit more of that. See, the great thing about this shoe polish is that it completely is washable. So, there we go. See, that's a lot. But the thing is, if we get too much, we can always just wipe it off again later. He's got some under his arm. Like that, there we go. Gonna just keep dabbing it on there. We want to kind of get a layer over the whole figure. So we're gonna do it again, add some more. We want him to look dirty. We want it to get into the cracks and crevices and all of it. And make sure it gets onto his pants underneath his kind of coat skirt thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense why he wouldn't have it there. Okay, there we go. That's our first step. So now what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to let this stuff dry a little bit because right now it is extremely sticky. We're gonna let this dry and then we'll start adding another layer on, but this time we'll do the black. While we're waiting for our body to dry, we're gonna go ahead and take the helmet, grab our black shoe polish, get the top off. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the helmet. We are just going to slather it black. That was actually a little bit more than I was expecting, but you know, it'll do. So then we're gonna just wipe it like this. And this stuff is perfectly safe to get on your hands. It's just gonna be a little bit sticky and it smells a little strange. So we'll dab it on there. There we go. I might need to get a closer in lens for you to actually see the difference this is doing, but we're gonna need a little bit more. Actually, I wiped off too much. So we want this helmet to look worn. And they already made it look a little bit worn, but we want it more worn. So now we are gonna go ahead and let this dry, but actually, first, we need to clean out the eye holes. Because this stuff will harden, and we don't want the eye holes to be obscured. All right, so that one's ready to sit and dry. My hands are thoroughly gross, but we're actually going to use that because I can kind of start getting some of the dirt onto this guy's face using what's on my fingers. And the faces are a little bit harder because it takes some very close in work, which I'm actually a bit too far out, and you can see it's not working out the way I wanted it to. So what I'm gonna have to do, because as I mentioned before, this is washable, I'm just gonna take some water, wipe off the excess, and then we'll kind of start making it a little bit more reasonable, because this guy looks like he was in a house fire. All right, here we go. We've cleaned off a little bit of the grime, but he's still pretty dirty because remember, this guy is a Viking. So we've got some grime on there. We're probably going to have to do a little more work to get it just right because this is a super imprecise, is that even a word? Super not precise way of doing things. It's just kind of how dirt would actually settle. You toss some on there and see where it lands. So as it is, it looks all right. He's still got kind of burn marks, kind of spots on the side of his head, but he will be using a helmet, so that's not a huge deal. Looks pretty good so far. Another thing you're gonna have to watch out for is as you're doing this, the glue, not glue, what am I talking about? Shoe polish is going to be really sticky. And that is going to let stuff stick, like hair and whatnot. And you can see it's already happening. So you're gonna have to remove that stuff as you go. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of the brown on the vest. Like so. Don't want it to be too much. We just want it to be enough to give the idea of dirt. There we go. So the vest will need to dry now. Then we have the neck scarf. This is a rubber piece, which makes it a little bit more difficult because the rubber does not act the same way as the harder plastic, but we want pretty much that. That's close to what we want. Again, I'll probably have to do a little bit of tweaks as we go along, just because that's how this process works. And then, oh, it's sticking to my fingers. I can't even get it off. Then we have the axe. What I did before is I actually just kind of went like that. There we go. That's got a bit of wear on the blade. And then we can go ahead like so. like that, because we want it to be lines moving back towards the handle, because that would be the way that he is swinging the axe. See, just like that, so like he hits something. It's pretty good. The smear lines on here are not the best. Let's see, can we fix it? There we go, that's a little better. And again, got to take some junk off. So it's super sticky right now. Again, we got to let it dry. Then we'll take the shield, which barely fits in frame. That's how close we are. And we're just gonna go all over this thing. Like that. There we go. The shield is gonna have the most wear, probably out of anything in this guy's kit. So now it is a waiting game. We just have to wait for this stuff to dry before we can move on. Okay, so we've let our brown layer for this guy dry. Now it's time to put his vest back on. And it's time to do some black layering. So we'll go ahead. Hopefully I can keep this in focus because it's a little wonky, but we're just gonna splatter black all over him. Well, there we go. Like so. Dab it a little bit. We want it especially on his kind of chainmail, upper arms. There we go. So that's our first layer of black. Sometimes you only need one layer. We may only need one layer. But now it is time once again to just sit and wait till this gets a little less sticky. Let me clean off the excess. Okay, so now we're gonna wait, and I gotta go wash my hands again. Our next step is gonna be to finish the weathering on the shield. We've kind of got the base layer of dirt on there, but we need some more kind of concentrated wear. And to do that, we're gonna take this. I'm gonna go ahead and take our black paint, and we're gonna get just a little bit on the edge like that. We're gonna take it, we're actually gonna dab it on the cloth a little bit first because we don't want it to be really, really globby. So let me make sure I can do this so you can see. We're just gonna go around the edges with the black. Like so. And then we'll dab a little more on the center boss. Then it's time to just let this one dry. So I let the figure dry and the base coat on the shield dry for an entire day. You don't really have to do that. This will be dry in probably like 4 hours, or dry enough for you to work with it. So I just waited a little longer just to be extra sure that it was going to work out. So now we just have to wait for this to dry, and then we'll start getting into the top coating. Another kind of extra step that I've been doing for these Vikings, and this can apply to any figures with the pinhole style eyes, is we're going to take a safety pin. Hold on. Can I get this to focus? Learning new equipment is so difficult. This camera that I'm using right now is so different from the one I used before. Okay, so what we're going to do is I have a safety pin here with some black paint, and I am just going to go ahead and poke him in the eye with both eyes. And right now he looks like he's a demon, like it's terrible. But we're going to take this and we're going to wipe off the excess. Like that. Is it getting all off? I might need a new cotton swab actually. That one's kind of hardened on the end. There we go. We're just gonna wipe off as much excess as we can. And then the eyes will get a little bit more depth. And sometimes you have to play around with it. The first guy that I did took like 3 or 4 tries to get it to look nice. But that looks decent. I might have to do a little more tweaks to it, but that will give the figure's eyes more depth than just the pinholes. All right, everything is dry. So now it is time to get my highly sophisticated holding system, aka some alligator clips taped onto a can. We're going to clip all of these on. This is how I get them so I can spray them. And we're going to be using some Krylon matte sealer. You'll see that in just a minute. We'll get this one in a bit. And then we're going to also be using some spray on Mod Podge. That'll be for the helmet, because we want the helmet to look a little bit metallic, and Mod Podge ends up with a slightly metallic finish. So let's go ahead and get this guy top coated. And there we go. We have taken this guy from looking like a somewhat plastic action figure to looking like a battle-hardened warrior. Look at that. And the whole process is really super easy, pretty simple too, and it looks so good. Now, this technique is not just for making Vikings look dirty. It works for Halo figures fantastically as well. You can see this Marine on this side. He has been given the full process, all the weathering and the top coat, whereas this guy over here has not. And it just makes the figures look so much more realistic. It brings out the molded detail a lot more. especially you can see here on the back, there's stuff that gets lost. There's all this mold that gets lost because it's just too shiny and plastic. And you can also just do the top coat. This guy right here was given only a matte top coat, and it made him look way less toyish just because he's not so shiny anymore. You know, when you have a figure that reflects light like a toy, it's going to look like a toy. But when you put the matte top coat on, suddenly this looks like a way larger action figure or just straight out of the game. Super, super easy, really simple, and it gives great results. I'm probably going to end up doing my entire Viking crew up in this kind of dirty look just because it's so easy and it looks amazing. I definitely recommend you give this a shot. You can find the shoe polish and the top coat. Basically, you know, just go to your local Walmart. You might be able to find some of the shoe polish at other stores. I'm not sure. I know I just got mine from Walmart. I got the top coat from Walmart, but basically anywhere that sells spray paint will probably have top coat or sealer. I'm saying top coat, but that's more of a modeling term. It's sealer in stores. And then black paint, you know, it's just acrylic. You can find that anywhere. So I definitely recommend you give this a try. And I'd love to see what you guys can come up with. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And I'll see you next time.